Hi, my name's Random Tuesday, and in this video, I'm going to show you how I make my opening and closing wing for my Meg cosplay. The focus of my design was creating something that was lightweight with a slim profile that could easily just slip directly into my corset. There are a lot of great designs out there for complex wings that are realistic in the way that they open or fully mechanized and hydraulics and all sorts of cool stuff, but a lot of those require kind of a large, chunky backpack in order to hide all of the mechanisms in. And as you can see with this cosplay, there's not really a lot of space to disguise stuff on the back of the costume. So I focused my build on creating something that would open and close but still maintain a really slim profile. I also wanted my wing to be able to open and close so I wasn't smacking people in the face at conventions, and I could fit through doorways in my own home but still be able to open the whole wing up for that really full video game effect of the character. So with that, let's get started. I started by creating a cardboard tube prototype. The basic design of the wing is that I have a single fixed section with a hinge and a section that moves. There's a string that runs through that fixed section that when I pull on it, forces that moving section upwards. Then I have a slight little bit of leverage to basically allow that hinge to move, and I let gravity go ahead and close it. To start creating my real version, I measured how long I wanted the fixed section and the moving section to be, really just guesstimating using a yardstick to kind of get a sense of how long I wanted each section to be. For the fixed section, I cut a 3/4 of an inch wide PVC pipe to the desired length, which was, for mine, about 30 inches. Then I measured how much of that pipe was going to be slid inside my corset. I then flattened the section of the pipe that was going to be inside the corset by using a heat gun, heating it up until it was nice and soft, then squishing it flat using clamps and a lot of brute force. Continue to squish the entire section that's going to be sitting inside the corset. And do make sure that you squish it but still leave enough space to run your paracord through, otherwise you're going to be sad. After squishing the bottom section, I also curved the pipe roughly 45-degree angle starting from the top of the corset all the way out to the very end by gently heating and bending it using the similar heat gun technique that I used with the squishing. For the moving section, I measured and cut a 1/2 inch around PVC pipe. Even though the total length of the moving section will be around 36 inches, I'm only using about 1.5 foot section of the pipe, and the rest of the length is going to be made out of wire, as this will help cut down on the overall weight of the wing. On the moving section, starting from the tip, I marked down about 4 inches. This is going to be the center of the hinge, giving me about 3-ish inches of fulcrum? I think that's the word. I then heated and squished a 3-ish inch section around that point that I had marked and drilled a hole through the center of that squished section big enough to fit the bolt that I was going to use to act as the hinge. It's about 1/4 of an inch in diameter. After that, I needed to create a notch in the end of the fixed section. This notch needed to be wide enough to fit that squished portion of the moving section, or the hinge, and long enough to allow the full range of motion that I wanted, so being able to fit it at the fully extended position and the fully closed position. After that, I cut the notch out using my Dremel cutter and filed away the inside of it just to make it a little bit smoother so I wasn't going to be damaging any of the paracord as I ran it through that section. I then drilled a hole to match up the hole on the moving section that I could fit the bolt through, and assembled the two pieces together using the bolt, creating my moving joint. Then I created the rest of the wing on the moving section. I made this with a framework of wire, which I drilled some holes and squished some of the tube in order to stabilize that wire in the moving section. And lastly, I covered it in Worbla. I'm using Worbla's black art because it's what I had on hand, in order to create the extra strength and durability. This is still lighter weight than having the remainder be out of the PVC pipe, and also allows me to create a slimmer, a little bit more wing-like profile, and have a little bit of the ability to move it and compress it and change its shape in addition to the motion of opening and closing the wing. Then I was ready to thread the paracord all the way through the fixed section, out through the notch that we had cut, and tied it onto the tip of the moving section in a hole that I had drilled in order to allow me to securely attach the paracord to it, and just secured it with a last little bit of extra tape. To create the fabric structure of the wing, I laid the mechanism out flat on the fabric that I was going to be using, and used some dowels to help me with the positioning of the wing fold flappy struts. I traced around the outline of it as well as where I wanted the skin of the wing, so to speak, in both the open and the closed position, because it was important that that top section of the fabric has enough material and enough space to accommodate the movement of the joint. After cutting out both the front and the back of the wing, I then cut out any of the decorations and the designs that I wanted to include on the exterior of the fabric, and top stitched these on. Along the top edge of the moving section, I added a loop of fabric so that I would be able to thread the wing structure through and keep it attached to the fabric, but still allow the whole thing to be taken apart for storage or whatever else I need. I then stitched the front of the wing and the back of the wing together with the right side spacing. On the fixed section, I also added another loop, as well as a zipper to the bottom section of that seam, allowing me to have a larger opening to be able to access the joint and interior of the wing for better assembly, taking apart, storage, etc. After sewing, I then turned the fabric right side out, pushing out all of those corners to make them nice and sharp, and proceeded to wrestle the structure into the fabric. I did this with the pieces unassembled and then reassembled the joint once they were in place. After that, I finished the look of the exterior with some airbrushing to give the wing a little bit more dimension and blend in those appliques. Lastly, I created a pouch on the inside of the corset to keep the base of the wing securely in place, basically sandwiching the wing between the structure of the corset and my back, making sure I left a gap in the bottom to run the paracord through. I then added a few snaps to help keep the wing in place while wearing it. On the front of the corset, I stitched a little bit of paracord, which allows me to tie off, keeping the wing in the open position. Essentially, the way it works is I pull down on the string and then bring it across the front, tie it in place, keeping the wing up. And as soon as I untie it and let that paracord relax, the wing will close due to the magic of gravity. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you found this helpful. Let me know in the comments below what other tutorials or resources you'd like me to make for my Meg cosplay, or I don't know, something else that strikes your fancy. You can also check me out live on twitch.tv/randomtuesday, where I'm always happy to answer cosplay questions and other random questions you might happen to have. And you can check out my website, randomtuesday.com, for other tutorials, resources, links, and all of that good stuff. And of course, don't forget to hit that like and that subscribe YouTube goodness so you get alerted when I do make those tutorials and videos. And lastly, and never leastly, thank you to each and every one of my patrons over on Patreon who made this cosplay and this video a reality. If you're able to do so, any monthly amount of support is truly appreciated. Thank you for watching.